Hi there, you guys. Welcome back to my countdown of my top 20 favorite films of all times list. Let's get right into number 4. Number 4. Inglorious Bastards. This one's actually a little bit weird because I just watched Django Unchained this past Thursday with my buddy who lives out in Vancouver. We watched it over Skype again. And oh my fucking god, was Django Unchained an amazing movie. Um, it's almost to the point where it's like I feel like I should include it on this list, but I also feel like I just saw it, so it's like my list may change in the future, but at this current moment, I'm like I pretty much like this movie just as much as I like Inglorious Bastards, and I think one of the reasons I like Inglorious Bastards just a little bit more than I like Django is because Django Unchained it's very much you're following one person's story. You're not really following any other characters. You're literally just following Django's story. There's not really much divergence. You're just following him the whole way through. There's no real subplot. It's just one solid plot, which isn't bad. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm saying that's if anything that's probably a bonus because it's rare now to find a movie that will stick to its main core plot line and not run off into a million different subplots. But what I liked about Inglorious Bastards was the fact that it did have all these different subplots, which you have the bastards, you have Shoshana, you have Christoph Waltz's character, why am I forgetting his name now? I'm totally forgetting his name. Why? Hans Landa. There we go. You know, you're following so many different characters that it's sort of interesting in a way, I think, because it constantly keeps your attention. It's sort of like it's great if you have ADD because it's constantly changing. You're not just focusing on one story because sometimes when you focus on one story too long, it's not really progressing anywhere and it's kind of stagnant. Which, if you really think about it, Tarantino's films have those moments, where a scene will just go on for forever, and the storyline itself doesn't really progress, but it's more like character development, and they're just kind of doing all this dialogue to more develop the characters more than anything else. So Django Unchained had a lot of that, but so did Inglorious Bastards. The only difference is that Inglorious Bastards was doing it within different plot lines. So, you would have this awesome conversation with Shoshana and Hans Landa while they're meeting with, Goebbels at a luncheon, and it's this incredibly tense and awkward conversation that they're having, and then you move over pretty much 2 scenes later and we're in the bar for half an hour with the British officer played by Michael Fassbender and the German SS officers and all these there's always something to think about while you're in another scene. So while I'm in the bar scene, you're kind of thinking like, oh, Shoshana is now plotting to kill Hitler and all of his men when they come to the theater. It's like you realize that all these plots are interconnecting with each other, and you realize that there is this thread that continues through all of them, and there's enough going on to constantly keep your attention going. And I think that's a great. I think it's one of the things that will put Inglorious Bastards over Django for me. Again, I love Django. I'm not saying Django is bad. I'm just saying I like Inglorious Bastards just a little bit more. Now, when I first saw this movie, I did see it in the theater. I saw it with a friend, and I actually wasn't prepared for how much violence was going to be in it because at the time I was. Not that I wasn't initiated to Tarantino's stuff, but I hadn't seen a lot of Tarantino films. I had only seen really Pulp Fiction, and I think I had seen Reservoir Dogs. Pretty sure I had seen Reservoir Dogs. But for some reason, I don't know why, I guess at the time I didn't realize I was walking into a Tarantino movie, and then, you sit down and you get to the bear juice scene where he busts the guy's head open with a baseball bat, and it's like, okay then, I was not expecting that, but then the rest of the movie I'm just like, okay, I can handle the rest of this, and that was good. I think the part about it I like so much is the fact that it does fool around with history a lot. I think Tarantino's actually doing a great job with that nowadays, is messing with our perceptions of history and basically taking historical events and taking these eras of American history and history in general and fooling around with it and seeing what he can do with it. And he did it amazingly with Inglorious Bastards, and I think he also did it really amazingly again with Django. And probably the biggest part about Inglorious Bastards that I have to say I love is the characters. There is not a single character in this movie that I do not love. I mean, and that's sort of like going based on who we really interact with. I mean, Hitler we don't really get a ton of time with, but even when he is on screen, he's kind of hilarious. I mean, of course he's a douchebag and he's an asshole, but I mean, the way they portray him is absolutely hilarious. And Joseph Goebbels and Hans Landa and the British officer and what's the actress's name? Oh, the one that's helping the bastards. I forget what her name is. Why am I forgetting what her name is? But there's virtually no character in this movie don't that you don't like on some extent. I mean, even the SS officers, Christoph Waltz and the SS officer that's in the bar when there's that incredibly tense scene going on in the bar. It seems like the SS officers, they wrote them. Their whole shtick seems to be, oh, ha ha ha, I'm just kidding, but seriously, I'm going to fucking shoot you. Like, that seems to be the whole thing of the SS officers in this movie. It's like, you don't know when they're joking and when they're going to actually fucking kill you. Which is what builds up a lot of that tension. Which is what makes it so suspenseful, but at the same time makes it so freaking hilarious. I don't really feel like I should have to explain a lot of this stuff because this is the kind of stuff that Tarantino is known for in his films, of creating these characters that are kind of bastards but extremely likable and relatable at the same time. It's just the way he writes these characters. I don't know how he manages to do it, but he's just amazing at it. And of course we have the awesome Aldo Raine, played by Brad Pitt, as some of the best fucking lines in the whole movie. This movie is just kind of like, it's sort of like the geeking out movie. It's just like, I think back on watching this movie, and I remember when we saw it in the theater, the very first thing we did after we saw the movie was we went to a pub that was literally 1 block away from the movie theater, and we just got a beer and we just quoted the movie because we thought it was so fucking hilarious. We just talked about it. I'm like, it's one of those movies now where you can just start quoting it and people will know what you're talking about. I know a lot of people tend to point to other Tarantino films like Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction or even Kill Bill as some of their favorites. I've personally never been a huge fan of really any of those movies. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like them. They're good movies, they are well-made movies, and Tarantino is amazing at what he does. But they never quite resonated with me, and I never quite struck the chord with me the way that Inglorious Bastards did. And it made me a total fan. And then Django Unchained came out, and I saw it, and I'm just like, I don't know, something in Inglorious Bastards all of a sudden made me a huge Tarantino fan. And now it's like, I eagerly await anything he has to put out now. So that's my number 4. Come back tomorrow for number 3, and keep watching to find out what my number 1 favorite film of all time is. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you later.